morning. I'm Jamilla and I'm from Barbados, a small island in the Caribbean. Just a few minutes ago, I thought that I was the only Caribbean person here, but now we have former minister from Dominican Republic. So in my country, we are only 166 square miles in size, and with around 290 people. We are one of the most densely populated places in the Western Hemisphere, and we're also very water scarce. I'm very grateful to address you as the moderator for this session. And in regards to climate change, my island has been making lots of efforts to prepare for climate change impacts, like building seawalls, which are also disguised as boardwalks. We're doing a tree planting initiative this year. We're trying to plant 1 million trees. And we're also raising awareness about climate change through the efforts of the Caribbean Youth Environment Network, which is the CYEN. The CYEN is the oldest and largest youth-led environmental initiative, our network, and we have about 20 countries in the Caribbean. And this is not only the English-speaking Caribbean, but we also have Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic as well, and also Haiti. In Barbados as well, we are leaders in capturing solar energy for water heaters and also for electricity. So as long as I've been around, that is 31 years, we have always had solar water heaters. So that's what I've known forever in my lifetime. All right, and in terms of climate change as well, other islands are doing many efforts, along with tree planting. In Grenada, they're doing coral restoration. They're actually going into the water and planting coral so that we can build our reefs, because that's very important for us, as I mentioned yesterday. And, and again, more efforts. Now, I would actually like to call up our first panelist.
Muchas gracias a todos. La verdad nos sentimos muy honrados con la presencia de todos y cada uno de ustedes y con la presencia de tantas personalidades tan importantes y distinguidas que están el día de hoy reunidos en el segundo Foro Mundial de Desarrollo Sostenible. El día de hoy me toca platicar con ustedes y poder comentarles que Durango está...
Challenges. The government of the state of Durango, led by the governor, José Rosas Aispuro Torres, is doing his part. And I'd like to share with you some interesting data that we have currently in the state. The state of Durango is a power to produce solar energy. Right now, we have installed some plants that are generating a certain amount of megawatts of solar power. Durango has a solar radiation that is very high, but it doesn't have a very high temperature. This means that Durango has a specific potential to produce solar power. We are looking for the way so that Durango will be the first national power producing solar energy. Right now, we have foreign companies, Spanish and Chinese companies that are working with solar plants. I'd like to say that we're working in different schemes to be able to make this state, the state of Durango, a greener and cleaner state. We have the federal policies, the national policies, where we do reforestations every year. But the government of the state of Durango, and its particular responsibility, is promoting to generate urban reforestations and commercial reforestations for the production of trees that could be used for wood, as well as trees that won't be used for wood. For example, agave, that enables the production of a very tasty drink that is produced in the locality, which is called mezcal. In the Ministry for natural resources, we are producing millions of plants of this kind of agave to be able to work with the communities, to be able to work with the people who are in charge of this duty regarding reforestations. Right now, agave is being used with the Sylvester agave. The idea is to avoid the extermination of the wild agave to be able to have a sustainable use of this product. I'd like to tell you also that we have some studies that say that 1 hectare of this kind of cacti, the agave, is capable of producing 30% more of oxygen than 1 hectare of pine forests. We have one of the main forest reserves here in Durango at the national level. We have an inventory of the 5% of the pine wood that is available in the country. I'd like to tell you that we also have a big amount of hectares of protected natural reserves. We have some natural areas that are federal reserves and state protected areas. We have also the Fernandez Canyon Reserve, which has 17,000 hectares. It is also an important site because it has an international importance. We also have a different zone, which is the Ramsar site with the lagoon, and we also have the state park, the Tecuanco, with almost 900 hectares of natural protected areas. We are committed in Durango to protect the environment, and there is a strong commitment from the governor. So that's why he agreed for us to do the second Sustainable Development Forum that we have achieved to do, and we're so glad that you are here today. In that sense, I'd like to tell you that we are working jointly with the municipalities and the mayors to do the urban reforestations. We are developing within the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of the state of Durango approximately 150,000 fruit trees that will enable us to have the reforestation campaigns that will generate environment services, but that the people who live in these communities have expressed that they are interested in taking care of a normal tree or a fruit tree. So we have that commitment to have irrigation for those trees. But this kind of trees can generate environment services as well as fruit that they can take advantage of and eat. So that's how we're looking to do urban reforestations to be able to fight climate change. On the other side, in the state of Durango, we have a capacity to produce approximately 29 million of plants, like pines or conifers or other kind of trees in the state. We were also speaking with the neighbor governments at the state level to be able to create strategies that will help us to work jointly for our environment. I'd like to thank you all for your presence, and I'd like to repeat that the government of Durango has a commitment with you. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me to be on this panel. It is an honor to be speaking here. As mentioned, my name is Lauren Sandberg. I live in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, on the west coast of the U.S. My home is one of many places to be directly impacted by global warming. Our economy and livelihoods are dependent upon the outdoor, and specifically the ski industry. During the winter, many tourists visit Lake Tahoe so that they can enjoy the ski areas. This brings in money for many local businesses, including restaurants, hotels, and shops, thus providing many jobs for the people that live there. But each year, the ski season has been getting shorter. Our winters have had less snow. The average number of days in a year on which the average air temperature remains below freezing has dropped by 27 days since 1910. This means that snow is turning to rain, and gradually, the amount of days that we can ski is lessening. Imagine what it will be like in 10 years from now, in 50 years. And since our economy and our lives are dependent upon the ski season. As global warming progresses even farther, my home is going to need to find a new source of income. That's not going to be easy. And furthermore, my home is just one of many, many places across the globe to be so negatively affected by global warming. As a part of the youth, I know that we will pay the biggest price if we don't act promptly. At the world's current rate of warming, as I grow up, I'm going to have to face all of the climate change-caused disasters and conflicts that so many scientists have predicted. My children and their children and all of the future generations are going to be living in a world that we might not even recognize. If we don't take action now, we might not ever be able to restore our Earth to a state where it can sustain itself. We can change this path for our future, but in order to do so, we have to take immediate action. In my hometown, I'm trying to raise awareness and fight climate change. In my school's Eco Club, I'm working to join our school to a group called Schools for Climate Action, which is an organization of schools that have acknowledged the severe effects of global warming and have called on both local and national governments to take action. Outside of school, with my sister and a friend, I'm working on a project called Eco Eaters, which helps restaurants reduce their single-use plastic. I've spoken at a town meeting about supporting a carbon tax. But even all of this is not enough. Even if everybody did this, it still probably wouldn't be enough. So we need political action. And this political action needs to come from the bottom up. Even though each individual can't make a huge change, if people believe in something and want it, there will be change. Individuals are directly impacted by business owners and town leaders, and these business owners and local governments are always directly impacted by subnational actions. Thus, a cyclic movement is in place. If a state or subnational initiative takes action, resistant people are essentially forced to take action. On the other hand, national action may be too far removed, and people aren't necessarily directly impacted, so they aren't forced to change. So while we do need national actions to encourage everybody to do something in general, subnational actions promoted or supported by the people are very important, possibly even more important, because they can really impact all individuals and can make actual change. The more local an initiative is, the more effect it will have on the people that it targets. As is the case of the US, subnational actions are very important when there are no national solutions happening. Since our federal government isn't taking the steps we need to reduce emissions, individual states are stepping up to take the responsibility themselves. Furthermore, while subnational initiatives can often take the place of national policies and laws, subnational actions can be critical to achieving those national objectives. The subnational initiatives are acting as proving grounds for policies and technologies. They are the early adopters, so that when we do get around to enacting national policies, we have the technology that works and scales and proven policies to build upon. For example, during the day, California runs on much renewable energy, but they are still working on finding a way to have renewable energy when there is no daylight. They need more research funding to solve the problem of storing energy to be used at night. If California, as a subnational initiative, was given this funding, they could find a good solution that could then be used on a larger scale for other states. Subnational initiatives and actions also simply provide real emission reductions. Even though they don't provide the amount of emission reductions that we need, they still save some greenhouse gas, and every ton not emitted buys us a little bit more time to figure out the national solutions. Every step in the right direction is a step we should be taking. Thank you for your time.
Muy buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Le acaba de decir a mi compañera, de caribeño a caribeña.
It's my turn to speak about how the subnational governments can get involved in this world movement at the UN framework on climate change. Now, since I only have 6 minutes, I don't have my slides today. But I'm going to say two things, two very important things. The first objective of every presentation is to educate. And there is something that, how is it possible that the subnational states can overcome the national states in terms of actions? That's very important because the international law, the environmental international law, calls the states after Second World War to respect the Paris framework and decide about climate change. Obviously, every state will have different layers of decision making at the national level and the so-called negotiation process. That methodological working focus is called top-down. It is a focus that will go from the multilateral part to the national part and will go to the subnational part and the municipal part, which is the last purpose, the basic planning for the community in every state. Some states will go beyond it. They will go to the minimum units for planning. But the majority of the Caribbean and Latin American states have the base community, which is a municipality. Just like our colleague from Durango has explained it. The state of Durango is involved because we have the state level and the municipalities level and the federal level will do the guideline for the policies. So it's very important how young people can be involved in that process. I think that most of you here are young and you want to know how to be part of that process. And you can be part of the process in those three levels, at the national level, the state level, and the municipality level. Some countries, as our colleague from the US has said, she represents California, which is extremely rich within the 52 North American states. If we counted the economy of California, this would account for the 7% of the world economy. It is not fair that they are doing so much for climate change, but the national policies are not promoting this. So, the Paris agreements will break the paradigm established by the Framework Convention of the UN and the Kyoto Protocol, that everything had to come from top to down. That has ended, and that's the result of the youth movement. That as a consequence, using the Paris Agreement has established a different focus. Now we have the methodological guide that will go from down to top, and this will enable the participation at all levels for the social groups, and especially for the young people as you are, because you have the wish and the will and the determination to work for your own destiny, which is the final goal of every human being. So that's why it's so important to participate through an organization. So I'm a young person, I have my youth accumulated, but since I'm working in a group, in an environmental movement, and the institution that participates at the municipal or state or federal level. As long as it is a proposal and as long as we can contribute to the public policies within that country or that nation. I think that's the best way to participate, and especially to review the Paris agreements, to review the focus from bottom to the top, and please get involved in that process to make decisions to face the big 21st century challenge, which is climate change. Thank you very much.